you're welcome to this week's edition of the MAGNATE. You call it Lending a Voice to Business Growth, and we call it Mentoring on Television. We're going to be mentored on the program today. Recall that we had a conversation on business plan 2 weeks ago, and the feedback we got was that, how can you talk about business plan without capital? And of course, the attendant risk of running a business. That's exactly what we're going to be discussing today. And I have the guest who was with us some time ago, and he's here again to lend a voice to the growth of our business. Let's go for a breather. When we come back, we'll commence the conversation. You're welcome back. It's the Magnates. And today we are going to be focusing on raising capital for our businesses after having done justice to the business plan itself. And it's a great pleasure to welcome to the Magnates Alhaji IDRIS SHUAIB, the managing partner of Timeline Consult. You're welcome back to the program, sir.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me once again.
Okay, so we did justice to enumerating the various steps of business plan, coming up with a plan for your business venture. But again, how do you have a business without, raising the desired capital? For our own understanding, what exactly is capital vis-a-vis business?
When an entrepreneur or a potential entrepreneur has an idea to do a business, the first thing first is to plan. And when you plan, the planning will involve several gamuts of exercises, from marketing to production and to human capital, where you get the personnel to do and the technology needed to process an idea, as well as the capital that is supposed to glue all the ideas together. Now, when you talk about capital, fundamentally, my understanding is there are two types of capital. There is the natural capital and there is human capital. Now, for the purposes of our conversation, we will limit ourselves to, capital needed for business. But before we delve into that, let me just give a simple idea of what is natural capital. Natural capital are things like crude oil, diamond, gold, even the sun and the wind that we may take for granted. These are natural capital that God decide to bless one part of the world or another, and in other parts they don't have that capital. The second type of capital is what we call the process capital. Process capital can be buildings, can be human resource that you hire, can be intellectual, property that you have. These are capitals. And the last type of capital is what we call intangible capital. Intangible capital can be monetized, and sometimes it may not necessarily be monetized. And intangible capital can be bought in an organization and for a country. For an organization, we call goodwill as intangible capital. And for a country, institutions, vibrant institutions like security, policing, justice, good road networks, these are what we call intangible capitals. Now, back to our conversation as regards to capital meant for business. Capital meant for business is money, funds needed to, say, rent a space, buy equipment, buy raw materials, fund advertisement, fund payment for, say, worker salary and what have you. So you are talking of real money. Now, an entrepreneur has a gamut, several options of raising capital or fund for the business. For our discussion, we will limit it to not more than 5 or 6. Number one is your life savings. As you are either a staff or you are working for somebody and you are earning a salary, or you are making some income, you do some savings. That is what you begin to save with a view to, say, starting a business. Second aspect of type of capital is family members. Your brothers, your sisters, your wives, your husbands, and relations. may be in a position to key into a business idea and lend you money. In that order, you can also look at, NGOs or church organization, church or mosque. You have, for example, NASFAT or other Muslim-oriented organization or church organization that may be in a position to lend money to support a business idea.
Now, having raised the capital, assuming you are lucky enough to have raised the commensurate one to match your business idea, what are then the uses of the capital?
When you have an idea of a business, depending upon the nature of the idea, if the idea involves rendering services, for example, one of our mothers is interested in roasting bole and roasting peanuts, she raises the capital. She will, of course, buy the unripe bole and store, and then get charcoal, get the frying pan that she will need to roast the bole, and then buy the peanuts, get 1 or 2 additional hands that will help her to peel the peanuts, and then to buy salt, and then roast the peanut and get the butter. So monies you have raised for the business, depending upon the nature of the business, you will use the money to do, number one, buy the equipment needed to render the services or to produce the product that you intend to produce. And then, of course, you need to pay for the raw materials that you require, for example, to render the service. In your own case, for media, for example, tapes could be construed as raw materials because you need to record conversations and discussions and events and programs as the case may be.
How best do you think you can go about achieving that without and still achieve your desired goal or the amount that you desire?
Well, there are several ways of raising capital. We have identified the sources, and one of the best things to happen to an entrepreneur is to raise capital that is near zero in cost. Near zero in cost. When you have an equity investor will only be able to get a return if there is profit.
For the purpose of those who don't know, what exactly is equity investor?
Well, thank you very much for that question. You as owner of a business, you put in money in the business. You will not be expecting returns until after you have removed all the expenses and you've made some money. So equity is the seed capital needed to start a business and for which no income is paid except when and where dividends are declared. In terms of comparison, one can compare equity with, say, a bank loan. Whether a company makes money or not, makes profit or not, whether you even generate income or not, if you borrow money from a bank, you will be compelled to pay monthly interest or quarterly interest or annual interest as the case may be. So equity is a cheaper source of funds because owners can decide not to give back. The example we gave in terms of the sources, if I borrow money from, say, a family member or a church organization or mosque organization, tendencies are they may charge me significantly lower interest. Just like if I borrow money from the cooperative society, interest in this arena are usually significantly lower than market, as opposed to if you get loans from, say, a high street bank. So family and friends, the owners, funds are near zero in terms of cost to the entrepreneur. Then followed by, the sources from, say, religious organizations and or the cooperative society or NGO that normally are usually established with a view to helping entrepreneurs, providing them with a cheaper source of capital.
Okay, thank you very much. You're still watching The Magnate, and today we are focusing on raising capital to match your own business idea, having looked at business plan in our previous edition. We'll be going for a short break. When we come back, our guest is still in-house to continue to lend a voice to the growth of our business. The program is The Magnates. You're welcome back. The program is still The Magnates, mentoring on television. I am being mentored. I mean, there are a lot of things I didn't know before that will definitely add to the growth of our business. I still have with us IDRIS SHUAIB, the managing partner of Timeline Consults. You're welcome back to the program again.
Thank you once again.
Remember that this program is open for partnership, sponsorship, and collaboration. Don't hesitate to join us. You can always watch this program and more on our YouTube channel, Ames Media Company. Now, we are talking of growth of business, raising capital, business plan. But between you and I and what's happening, the pandemic has really not helped issue vis-a-vis the economic situation. You talk about recession. So there's some bit of high mortality rates in businesses. Do you think people will still be willing to support or to partner with businesses even at the infancy stage or even when the business has taken off fully?
Well, I think notwithstanding the fact that there are high rate of business mortality, people will still be interested in venturing into business, and several other people also, because they have surplus in their end, will naturally be looking for avenues to invest and turn around their monies. I believe it is akin to a situation where we fall ill, some people die, and yet we still give birth. Will we say because people are dying or falling ill, we will not give birth? No. And as long as man is alive, there are certain fundamental things that human beings will require: shelter, clothes, food, medicaments, name it. These are a must, and these are virgin areas that entrepreneurs can think about. So definitely there will continuously be mortality of businesses, and in the same rate there will be continuous interest in starting of new ventures or expanding existing ventures, and people wanting to invest will look for such avenues and opportunities to invest.
Interesting. You're saying that somebody must do a proper feasibility studies, research, and find a need assessment before you go into any venture, right?
Certainly.
Okay. Now, earlier on, you alluded to the fact that some sources of capital can be in form of goodwill. What does social capital, how does it come in here in what we're talking about?
Well, in general, the definition of social capital is that capital that you accumulate arising from your character, your mien, and your behavior. You network among individuals, you network among organizations, you network across the length and breadth, say, of a country, of a continent, or even across, the globe. Social capital is one form of capital that significant proportion of our people, particularly Africans, underrate its significance and its importance and its place in business. Our words as businessmen and women is supposed to be our bond. Once you say yes, your yes must be and shall be yes and yes and yes to the end. So when you build a character, when you build a certain behavior and attitude, and people believe in you, chances are people will invest in a business without even necessarily interrogating so much of your business plan or the document you are presenting. Social capital is a very, very expensive capital. Once you build it, chances are you can monetize it. You can actually cash it when and how you so ever want. It's not something that you can build in 1 week, in 1 month. No, we are talking of years down the line. So consistency and passion will help to build the social capital.
Thank you very much for that simplified explanation. Now, again, we're looking at to further build businesses, to be successful in your business. You really can't do it alone. What role does partnership play in the capital we're talking about business?
Thank you very much for that question. Quite a number of ideas that may be, developed by one individual or another might be too huge, might be gigantic for one person to handle. So there may be a need to extend a hand of fellowship to one, two, or more individuals so that they can do what they can help in coming together to fuse, and then the business can go on. In addition to the size of a business being too big, if a business is also a little risky, one tries to say, let me diversify my risk, let me manage my risk. Just for want of a better example, if I have in my life savings 10 million naira and I want to start a business that is 9 million naira worth, if I take the entire 9 million naira and I put in the business and the business collapses, I will be down. However, if I decide, for example, to extend a hand of fellowship to 1, 2, or 3 more individuals to give me 2 million, 3 million here and there, maybe I end up owning 4 million and then the others put in 5 million. Even if the business goes down, I will only be losing 4 million naira and not the 9 million naira. So these are the reasons why a number of entrepreneurs come up with partnership, association. Much more than that, in professional organizations such as accountancy, law firms, architecture, and other professional associations, no one single person can form up a partnership that will blossom and be wide, because one person can only be in one location at any point in time, notwithstanding the abundance of technology. So there is the need by the nature of the operation to have partnership. So it's by compulsion you must have partnership.
Thank you. We still have IDRIS, the managing consultant of Timeline Consult. I don't know how this will work in this our climb, that one of the ways to raise capital for ventures is advance payment from customers. You understand? For instance, you made a good example with our services. You go, just pay ahead, and then we render services for that. Do you think that's workable in Nigeria?
Ajay, is very, very workable. And indeed, it has happened. I have been a living witness to this exercise taking place. Remember, we spoke about social capital.
Yes.
If you come in with a goodwill and you are about to start a business, and people know that you are a man of repute, a woman of repute, tendencies are they will stake in their money even before the product hit the street. I happen to have worked in an organization where the organization was producing and selling juices, orange juice, pineapple juice, and what have you. And the organization wanted to expand into production of bottled water. Believe you me sincerely, the fact that we announced then that we are about to commence production of bottled water, customers, that potential customers wanting to buy the water that has not hit, gave us 80 million naira. And this is like 15 years ago. You can imagine how much 80 million naira is. So what we ended up doing was using advance monies collected from customers' deposit, for our product to even start the production. So it has happened and it is still happening. However, it can only happen to someone who has critical amount of social capital.
Interesting. Now we also hear of crowdfunding. In fact, that is even the latest jingle in town now. I don't know how recent that has been. Maybe it's just in this climb that is becoming very popular. How do you use crowdfunding to also fund your business?
Well, before I get to that, let me just take us a little back on the last point we raised. If, for example, you are used to going to see a doctor in a hospital, and the doctor is an employee of a hospital, and he or she decides to set up a clinic, chances are, the patient that doctor is seeing could easily give the doctor an advance, payment. So those are some of the social capital that we talk. Crowdfunding is nothing more than, a tinkered way of doing, if you like, cooperatives. It's not contribution per se. However, because of technology, because the world has become a global village, one single village, human being tries to leverage on, the facilities provided by technology by trying to raise capital without necessarily going through, if you like, the caricature that we have already set up. Instead of going to a bank or going to investment bank to say, help me advertise my company and then raise shares for me, sell these shares and pick up a fee. Crowdfunding is one of the sources of funds for a business that is equity, which means near zero. Of course, you will be expected to pay back the money because it is not loan, it is an investment in an entity. So if the entity were to issue the shares can be traded and sold, or if the entity decides to close off, each and every contributor will have to get his or her monies back.
Can you tell what exactly do we mean by risk associated with business or ventures?
We have a saying, no pain, no gain. And generally, in portfolio theory is a theory that was espoused by certain professors in the university that says there is a direct relationship, if you like, correlation between risk and return. The higher the risk, the higher is supposed to be the return. So when entrepreneurs set out to start a business, there are several risks that the business will be exposed. There is market risk. What is market risk? The possibility that you produce the product and they are not being bought. There is regulatory risk. NAFDAC, for example, the National Agency for Food, Drugs Administration and Control, or other regulatory agencies might come in to say stop production. There is natural risk. There could be, say, disaster such as earthquake, typhoon, fire, and what have you. There are quite a number of other risks. There are, risk associated with human capital. Your best staff can fall ill when you need that person most. So risks are several. However, entrepreneurs do try to manage and mitigate some of this risk. That's why we have insurance. Some of this risk you can take insurance. For example, fire, you can take all peril risk insurance to cover your equipment and your item just in case there is fire. There is professional indemnity risk. There are other insurance premium that you can pay to get a cover for some of the risks. Another risk is you try to mitigate them by having a bit of an option. What do I mean? Instead of relying on only one individual, you can have 2 or 3 persons. This is your first 11 and you have your second 11. In the event that the first 11 is not ready, the second 11 can step into the first 11. And the final analysis we ask ourselves, is risk only associated with business? Yes. The answer is capital no. The main issue is try to manage the risk. So because of risk, entrepreneurs cannot, should not, and never refuse to get into business.
Exactly. You've taken the last question from me, I mean, you should not say because of risk, you now say, no way for business for me. I mean, there has to be a business. There have to be buying and selling. Any final words from you, sir?
Well, my final word is just to say once again, thank you very much and well done for all that you've been doing. The feedback I personally got from the last appearance is heartwarming, and that people do listen, people do watch, and people are appreciative of the effort that you are putting. May Allah in His infinite mercies bless you. And I call on entrepreneurs, particularly those who have products or services to market, to align their thoughts with you so that they can sponsor programs such as this for the betterment of the larger society. And even if you are not entrepreneur, NGOs, non-governmental organizations, business member organizations that may want to do some corporate social responsibilities, these are some of the avenues that you can actually touch lives, real lives, and far and wide. Imagine, the television audience of the station that airs this program. We are talking of hundreds of millions of listeners. And this program is also further beamed through the YouTube, so is there permanent. So you can only imagine, the reach of your advert if you sponsor the program.
It's been Alhaji Idris SHUAIB, the managing consultant of Timeline Consult. Thank you once again for coming.
Thank you for having me.
It's been the Magnate. I have been mentored. I have learnt a lot on managing risk and then, of course, raising capital. I mean, why should I always complain when there are several avenues to boost the investment and then the capital of the business? It's been the Magnate. Follow us on our YouTube platform after watching the program, Ames Media Company. Do make it a date with us same time next week and continue to be mentored and to lend a voice to the growth of your business. Join us then. Bye for now.